All right. Hi, Janice.
Hi, Anthony. How are you?
I'm very well. We're going to talk about one that we're very familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
The 4 unexpected hazards of being an executor. Janice, this is from my website. Check it out on anthonyspark.com for the full article. I mean, Janice, this is what we do. I'm a professional executor, and you're one of my paralegals who helps me settle these estates. So we do this.
We do. And I'd say, oh, you should write a book, but you did. So you've been around the block a few times with this.
For sure. The book, How Probate Works, coming out on Amazon in about 2 weeks. If you join the email list or just follow us here, I'll make sure to mention it. But let's jump into this one. 4 unexpected hazards of being an executor. Janice, take us away.
Absolutely. Yeah. Before I jump in, can you explain what an executor is to those that are listening for the first time?
Sure. The executor is the person named in your will, or by law if you don't have a will, who is the person who's in charge, legally authorized and legally responsible for making sure all of your final affairs are settled properly. And that means everything from collecting bank accounts, selling real estate and whatnot, taking those funds and paying the debts, making sure all final taxes are paid, and then whatever's left, taking the net, right, and making sure it gets to the correct heirs. There's a lot of money moving around and a lot of responsibility and a lot of legal and tax implications. It's a big job.
Yeah, that's what I get from all of that, is that it's a really big job. There's a lot of moving parts, and every move you make, somebody, whether that's the court or the IRS, is going to be watching.
Yep.
So number 1, you're assuming significant personal risk. Think about it. You just said you go into the bank, you have to pay bills, you have to do this. There's a lot of financial. So give me an example of how personally you could be liable for some sort of move you make during your executorship.
So I listed an example in the article. You can read it there, but I'll give a different one here for the listeners. So just number 1, executors have unlimited personal risk. This is not like a corporation or LLC where you can put some sort of limit on your liability. You are assuming that the liability for your actions. So let's give an example. Let's say I sell a property. Excuse me. Roll back. So let's say I decide.
You have so many examples. You got to pick a good one. You're like, wait, no, I got one.
I want one that's really easy to comprehend. Okay, so I close down the decedent, the person who passed away. I close down his brokerage account, right? But I decide, I don't want to put it in. There's $100,000. I don't want to stuff it into an interest-bearing account and get like 1% interest for my heirs. I want to do right by them because I have all the best intentions, right? Nobody's out there trying to rook anybody. I'm going to put it into an index fund because that's what Warren Buffett would do. That's what Mark Cuban would do, right? I'm going to put this $100K in an index fund, and I'm going to get them 8%, not 1%. Hooray! I'm doing great by them. I feel great. Guess what? Estates will typically last maybe 9 months to a year, possibly longer if there's complications. But let's say this is an easy one. But if the market takes a twist during that time, that's pretty short-term investing, and I could end up losing money for my heirs. So if the market takes a dip, let's say it pulls back 10%, and now I'm only able to pay them $90,000, not the $100,000 that I originally collected. You don't just wash your hands and say, oh well, that's how the market works. I'm going to personally owe that $10,000. I have to make up the difference. And people think, oh no, that's not how that is how it works. You owe the difference. So your job as an executor is to preserve the value of the estate, not to make any sort of speculative or upward investment. Just keep it exactly where it's at, even if you're losing a little bit to inflation. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather lose a couple $100, except for $10,000. That's a tiny bit of a difference when you're taking on that personal risk.
Yep.
And you mentioned that it could take 9 months to a year to longer if it's complicated. So number 2 is a major drain on your time. We know how long it takes. Those that haven't been through it might not know, but it is a very slow process. And almost everything that comes with being an executor, you can't delegate to someone else. You can't say, could you run to the store and write the check for this? You have to do it. You have to make every step. So it's a lot of work. It really is.
Yeah, you really touched on 2 of the major reasons why it's so time draining. Number 1, you can't delegate the vast majority of the tasks. You can't use a power of attorney. That's just, you're not because I'm already a fiduciary. An executor cannot further delegate it. Otherwise, that would be limitless, passing the buck.
Right.
So I have to do it myself. And on top of that, a lot of the things you have to do as an executor, you're dealing with banks or bureaucracies or court systems where for that particular task, dealing with decedent situations, they're stuck in a time warp where their processes are like the same processes 15 years ago, not current day practices. So just for example, Janice, if you wanted to open a bank account today, like a personal checking account, you could probably do that in 3 minutes with an app on your phone, right?
Absolutely. It's quick.
If we want to open an estate account for the estate, I have to walk into a branch. You know?
Yeah.
There's no other way.
Who does that? Do people do that?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you go to the bank?
And when I get there, I guarantee I'll have to go through 2 or 3 different tellers or bankers before I get one who's familiar with the process. Right. So I'll be sitting there for a while like, hey, John, do you know how to do this? Oh, no, Carla knows how to do it, but she had lunch. You know?
Right. And then you get to the person who does know, and you don't have the right paperwork with you.
Yeah,
so you got to come back.
Yep.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just an example of, yes, how these things can turn into huge time sinks.
Yeah. And like you said, it's a long process. It almost should come with a disclaimer of you are going to be the executor. This is going to take a long time. This is not quick. And I know we say that to a lot of our clients, but it's frustrating. And I get that.
Yep.
So number 3, the heirs can make your life miserable. Okay, we just explained how long the process is, but there are a lot of people who stand to inherit, even if it's a few dollars, they still want their money.
Yep.
I can respect that. But if they don't understand how long the process takes and you really are doing your job diligently, that can lead to some frustration.
Yep.
You know, there's really not even too much more to say about that. It's just they don't understand. There's maybe some communication and it could get frustrating.
Yeah. An heir who hasn't received their money yet can be an interesting character.
Absolutely.
Someone who, a brother, a cousin, an aunt, someone who you've gotten along well with beautifully your whole life, the character of your relationship can change drastically. I've seen it over and over again. It's actually kind of sad, but I guess it's to some extent human nature. And I'm not saying these are all bad people who let money get to them. You know what? People's life situations and people react to normal incentives, right? And if somebody didn't do a good job of telling them, hey, this money's not getting to you for a year, and they've begun penciling in those dollars for 2 months from now, yeah, of course they're going to be frustrated. So number 1 is setting good expectations. Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe that's the whole in the beginning. Explain, even if you explain though, it's frustrating because it seems like a long time.
Sure.
So number 4, the pay for an executor is really bad. It is for 2 reasons. One, it's a certain percentage. So you give the example of the estate is worth maybe $50,000. The executor might get paid $2,500. But here's the kicker: is that a lot of people expect that if you are a family member of the decedent, etc., that you're going to waive that. So there's a good chance you could be doing everything for free.
That just shouldn't happen. I try my best not to let our clients do that because any executor who we represent, they've earned their money for sure.
Oh yes. Oh gosh, absolutely.
So yeah, it's in New York at least, it's a percentage. The executor's fee is set by state law. It's not non-negotiable really. It's a percentage of the value of the estate. And for most estates, I mean, unless we're talking about multi-million dollar estates, it's really not a good deal for the executor. So we talked about the time involved, the personal risk, the headaches from the heirs. If you wrap all that up, right? So that you might be thinking, hey, I can use an extra $5,000 to be an executor, easy peasy, right?
Right, sure.
On a per hour basis, it is not a good compensation. You'd be better off, selling on eBay or knitting and selling on Etsy. At least doing something you enjoy doing.
Right. If you said in the article, if you do the math, you're making less than a fast food cashier.
Yeah. For a lot of people. I mean, there are other circumstances, but most folks tend to underestimate the amount of work involved.
Right. It is a lot of work.
And you're absolutely right. If it's a family member or a family friend, there's this intense, sometimes pressure from the heirs for you to give up your fee and say, oh, no, I won't take it. So that they can get more money, obviously, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. But they don't realize the amount of work that you've put into it, that you have earned it like a job.
Yeah, don't fall for that. And if you need us as your attorneys to be the bad guy, say, no, we're not allowing them to waive their fees, we're happy to do that.
That's right. And that's how you end the article, is what you can do if you're named in the executor. One, you don't have to accept the job.
Yep.
You may not live in the county. There be maybe circumstances that when you look at this and say, it's going to take me how long? And like you said, with the new baby, maybe you have a new baby, so you don't have to accept it. Mm-hmm. And number two is, if you are going to accept it, hire a probate lawyer to help you. This is not something you want to try to do on your own. I mean, like I said, every single step has somebody watching, whether that's the courts, the IRS, etc. Mm-hmm. Hire somebody who's done this. How many times have you done this? Just a few thousand?
Oh, just a few thousand, yeah.
Just a few. But you know how it goes. So if I'd rather have your guidance than trying to read through forms online and fill it out, and I'd definitely hire somebody to help you.
Yeah, I think that's the number one thing that people don't realize. You don't have to accept, and don't feel bad if you feel like you shouldn't accept. A lot of folks feel like, look, my relative or my friend passed away and wanted me to do this. I feel guilty not doing it. Don't feel guilty. Doing it half-heartedly or poorly is probably a lot worse than, forsaking their last wish. Don't worry about it. Just hire a professional to do it, or kick the ball along to somebody who is better suited, and that will be better for you, your mental health, and for everybody else involved.
Exactly. Especially if you don't have time to do it right, or you slip up. And definitely, if you can't do it, say something.
Very good. Okay, Janice, thanks. That was, again, this is 4 unexpected hazards of being an executor. The blog post is on our website at anthonyspark.com, and my book, How Probate Works, will be on Amazon in about 2 weeks. We'll let you know. Okay, are we all set then, Janice?
All set. Looking forward to the book, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it when that comes out.
Sounds good. Thanks, Janice. Talk to you later.
Thanks. Talk soon.
Bye.